They tried to shame her as the infertile bride, yet she became the only woman the cowboy cherished. The train screeched as it pulled into the small frontier town of Willow Creek. Dust lifted in clouds along the platform as passengers stepped down. Among them was a young woman in a plain calico dress, clutching a carpetbag so tightly her knuckles had gone white. Her name was Clara Dawson, though most of the world didn't say it kindly. To them, she was the barren girl, the useless daughter, the one the doctor had whispered about when she was just 18, telling her she might never carry children. Word had spread like fire through dry brush, and the shame had followed her everywhere. Her parents had grown weary of her presence, tired of the whispers in church pews and the looks neighbors cast their way. So when a rancher out west sent word he was looking for a bride, they sent Clara without hesitation. No dowry, no farewells of love, only relief to see her gone. They thought they were punishing her, pawning her off like an unwanted possession. They thought they were shaming her forever. But Clara carried something stronger than shame, even if she didn't know it yet. Luke Barrett stood near the platform, tall and broad-shouldered, his hat pulled low against the sun. He wasn't a man who smiled often. Life on a cattle ranch left little time for such things. But when his eyes found the slender figure stepping off the train, his heart gave a start he hadn't expected. Clara looked small against the wide prairie sky, but there was a quiet dignity in the way she carried herself. She didn't flinch when men glanced her way, didn't rush her steps. Yet when she met Luke's gaze, he saw the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "You must be Miss Dawson," he said gently, tipping his hat. "Yes, sir," she whispered. Luke took her bag from her hands before she could protest. "I'm Luke. No need for sir. I reckon we've got a bit of gettin' used to each other ahead of us." Clara managed a small nod. Her lips pressed together as if holding back 100 words. The first days on the ranch were quiet. Luke gave her space, not wanting to frighten her off. He showed her the big farmhouse kitchen, the garden patch out back, the fields that stretched as far as the eye could see. She listened politely, but always with a distance in her gaze, as if she didn't quite believe she belonged there. At night, she would sit near the fire with her sewing, though her stitches wavered when her hands trembled. Luke would watch her from his chair, wondering who had taught her to carry herself like a burden instead of a woman with worth. One evening, he found her standing on the porch staring at the horizon, the sunset painting her face in soft gold. "You look like you're waitin' on something," Luke said, stepping beside her. Clara startled slightly. "No. I suppose I'm just thinking." "'Bout what?" She hesitated. Then the truth spilled out in a whisper. "How long before you send me back?" Luke's brow furrowed. "Send you back? Why in heaven's name would I do that?" Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. "Because I can't. I'll never give you children. That's why they sent me here. They thought if anyone deserved a wife who couldn't bear, it was a man living all alone on the edge of the prairie." Her words broke on the last syllable. She turned her face away, but Luke had already seen the tears in her eyes. Luke stood silent for a long moment, the wind carrying the cry of meadowlarks through the evening air. Then, in a voice steady as bedrock, he said, "Clara, I didn't write for a wife, 'cause I needed an heir. I wrote, 'cause I needed someone to share this life with. The long rides, the quiet suppers, the days when the only sound is the wind through the grass. I wanted someone who'd walk beside me, not behind me. Children or no children, that don't change a thing." Clara turned toward him, disbelief etched into her features. You mean that?" Luke nodded. "I don't care what your folks or your neighbors said. You're not less because of it. Not to me." Her tears spilled then, but for the first time in years, they weren't only tears of sorrow. From that night, Clara began to change. She rose earlier, humming softly while she cooked breakfast. She tended the garden with more care, planting flowers among the vegetables just because she liked their color. She found herself laughing one afternoon when Luke tripped over the barn cat and muttered under his breath. The sound surprised them both, and Luke grinned wide, a grin she'd never seen on his face before. As the weeks rolled into months, their bond deepened. Luke taught her how to ride his mare, steadying her with strong hands. Clara baked pies that filled the house with sweetness. They planted a young peach tree near the porch, Luke saying with a smile, "Doesn't matter if it takes years to fruit. It'll still grow tall, still give shade." Clara understood his meaning, and her heart warmed with it. But whispers reached Willow Creek before long. Some townsfolk had heard the rumors from back east. At the Mercantile one day, Clara overheard two women mutter behind her back. "Poor Luke. Married a barren wife. Shame. A man like him could have had anyone." Clara froze, her hands gripping the sack of flour until her knuckles ached. The old shame threatened to crush her all over again. But before she could shrink away, Luke appeared at her side. He took the flour from her hands, looked those women square in the eye, and said in a voice like thunder, "My wife is worth more than any wagging tongue in this town. You want to speak ill, do it where I can't hear. Otherwise, best keep quiet." The women blanched and fell silent. Clara's heart swelled with a fierce, grateful ache. That evening, under the wide canopy of stars, Clara sat beside Luke on the porch swing. She leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breath. "Do you ever wish things were different?" she asked softly. Luke thought for a long moment. Then he tilted her chin up with a calloused finger, his eyes steady on hers. "No," he said simply. "'Cause if things were different, I might not have you. And you, Clara Dawson Barrett, are the only woman I'll ever need." Her breath caught, tears spilling freely down her cheeks. But this time, she didn't hide them. Luke brushed them away and kissed her gently, sealing a truth stronger than every whisper, every cruel word from the past. She was no longer the infertile bride meant to be shamed. She was Luke's cherished wife, the only woman his heart would ever love. And that was more than enough.